Black lives matter. They've always mattered, and they continue to matter throughout this very challenging time. If anyone is a person of color, everybody knows that when it comes to racism within this country, the microaggressions, that type of feeling that somebody is more superior, somebody is given better opportunity, somebody is having to overcome so many hurdles in order to be given fair treatment, to feel the equality of the system that is meant to provide equality. But then there is the unequal enforcement, the selective enforcement of laws that are meant to provide protection to everyone. Yet, we live in a society where we always feel the hurdles, the overwhelming hurdles in order to access justice. Justice that is not just in the form of going to the court system, but in the form of the bureaucratic systems that we have to be able to avail or even be considered to be able to get those forms of equality and equity. This system, right? We talk about the systemic inequality that the system has ingrained, right? Whether it's access to the justice system or the enforcement of laws that are meant to cater to equality, and how it is harder to prove the inequality, how employers and various institutions are a little bit more smarter in hiding their internal prejudice, hiding their actions in forms of passive aggressiveness by not including you, by keeping you away, keeping you out of the picture. I can't tell you how many employees I have represented in which somebody who's African American, somebody who's a person of color, was specifically treated in such a way that they were pushed away, outside of the picture, isolated, segregated. Segregated not to the extent that they were told, but the way that they felt. The way that you make people feel is how people will experience the environment. The environment that currently exists within this society, within the United States, is one which is questionable. Questionable to whom? Questionable to the people that receive the short end of the stick, the people that have to fight harder to get very little. Why does this system cater to this, right? We go back into the foundations of this very nation. We look at the way that there was severe injustice in the practice of taking over this very nation, and then the enslavement of populations, specifically African Americans, and ultimately utilizing every aspect of their being to create this very nation. The civil rights movement, the diversity, every aspect and every single achievement in making this what apparently the founders of this nation had specifically sought, that the equality of men, that we are all free and equal. But was that meant for a specific person? Was it only meant for that white male property owning class? It wasn't meant for the women. Women had to fight for it. The white women fought for it, and they got the right to vote, the right to own, the right to do many things. And then there was the civil rights movement against segregation, against all of what existed in society that was ingrained to essentially keep us apart and to avoid the integration, to continue the segregation. The systems that exist have always catered to that segregation. And that segregation is not just in the way that the laws are enforced, but also in many ways the laws that exist. They're not meant to integrate. They're not meant to heal. They're not specifically made in such a way that it is easier to prove when those microaggressions occur, when somebody is passively aggressively motivated to put you in a position that is an unfair scenario, where you're being disadvantaged, where you're being treated unfairly. Those situations are actions, those are results of the system that caters to these microaggressions against people of color, specifically African Americans. So what do we do? What can we do to impact change? We need to cater to laws that are going to be more about integration. You know, we talk about affirmative action, right? Affirmative action is one of those types of laws, but there has to be more. It has to be easier for people to complain. And there has been proposals in New York City about false arrests and false claims. False claims like what Amy Cooper did, where she used the system of her knowledge base of what she knows as somebody of privilege, knowing the system that exists, the apparatus of police, the criminal justice system, calling those that are meant to serve and protect to utilize that system in a way that she was fully aware existed against somebody who was African American, right? The selective enforcement of laws disproportionately disproportionately against those that are African American, from possession of criminal substances and focusing on those specific areas that are routinely known to disproportionately have them. Because you know what? When you create an environment which is so unfair, when you deny everybody the rights that everybody else has, and you leave them in a position where they don't have access to opportunity to make it out, you put them in a position where they're actually having to fend in a way where their hope has been destroyed slowly with little things. What option do you leave them? So if you're complaining about the violence, if you're complaining about the vandalism, I get it. You don't like the fact that you're having to see the effects, the actions on behalf of those that have been denied so much by this country. Do they not pay taxes? Do they not contribute to this economy? Are they not on the front lines fighting for you? Are they not there? Yet you have the audacity. You have the audacity to say that the system doesn't allow for people to engage in violent acts of protest by turning to vandalism. I get it. It's causing an insurance claim. It's causing all these things. But it's a wake-up call to recognize the underlying issue that exists. The underlying issue that exists is that the system is unfair. It's just not fair, and we have to do more to target the cause rather than the effect. The cause of this, what is happening, whether it's on the basis of those that are being essentially killed because of their race versus those that are protesting in ways that is unacceptable to society because of the fact that the system, the very system that killed that man, was full of inconsistencies and discrimination, and that there was a systemic racism at the core. They had so many complaints about this guy. What happened? Why wasn't even considered? Why weren't there systems in place to make sure that somebody of that nature is not allowed to serve and protect everyone? Black people are not included in everyone. Equality does not include them. We have to change this. We gotta take steps to do it. Stop making excuses. Stop looking at the actions that follow the causes. Focus on the causes to find solutions to create a better system that everyone has been promised by the founders of this country. And if you're questioning the founders of this country in terms of what was the basis of why they created it, then you know what? Be open about it. So that way people can know this isn't the country for them. But don't talk about and create laws about equality and justice for all when you're not willing to do it for everyone in the right way.